it's Fake Tums from Luna and Lullaby. Today, let's have a chat about starting solids and sleep, because the two really go hand in hand, and it's a really exciting time. It can be a daunting time, and it can be a really emotional time for mum as well. And what I mean is, if this is your first baby and you've had months and months of, purely a milk diet for your child, you might be really excited to start introducing them to some cooked apples, some pear, some of those beautiful soft fruits, and get them used to these new tastes, new flavors, new textures. It's really exciting, messy, but exciting. And then if this is your last baby, you might be feeling really emotional, because starting solids is the first step towards weaning from the breast. And there's a beautiful connection that goes on between mother and baby when they're breastfeeding. And so starting solids can also be this hugely emotional time. Also, starting solids has, a big impact on your baby's tummy and digestive system, and it can really lead to some sleeping problems. Your perfectly sleeping baby, when they start solids, their night times might just completely fall apart. And I'm going to give you some great tips to stop that happening, or if it has started, how to get that nighttime sleep back on track. Because the last thing we want to do is, give our baby all these beautiful foods and then inadvertently give them, really sore tummies and constipation and digestion issues, and then leading them to wake up at nighttime. And it's not that you're doing anything wrong or anything bad. It's just that, there's certain foods that you can be aware of, and there's certain times of the day that are really good for feeding as well. So first of all, let's have a little chat about when is the best time to start solids. And there is a little bit of discussion about the best time, and a little bit of disagreement as well. But there are some certain dates that pretty much everybody agrees on. So anywhere between the time of 4 months and 6 months, most of the child health institutions around the world recommend that these times are the best times, whether they recommend more on the 6-month side or closer to the 4-month side. But they all agree that starting solids before 17 weeks is a definite no-no. Your baby's digestive system is just not mature enough to cope with some new, basically foreign things entering their body. So starting solids before 17 weeks, definitely not a go. And this can be a little bit confusing sometimes, because at 16 weeks, generally a lot of babies, they go through a big growth spurt, and suddenly we're like, oh, they're so hungry, maybe they're ready for solids. They're not. They actually need to up their milk take for this growth spurt. So if you were offering 1 breast, maybe now offer 2. If you were already offering 2, you might need to feed a little bit more frequently in order to up your milk supply and satisfy your baby. So there's a good growth spurt that goes on at 16 weeks, but this is not an indication that your baby is ready for solids. 16 weeks is way too early, and it's been shown that giving solids before 17 weeks can lead to things like eczema and weight gain and diabetes and a whole raft of different issues. So it's really important that you do not give anything except for milk before 17 weeks. Now also, on the other side, it's really important that before 26 weeks, you do give your baby some food. And so what's happening after this time is your baby has some iron stores that they are born with. And by 6 months of age, they are completely depleted. And breast milk or formula alone does not contain enough iron or enough nutrients to sustain your body, sustain your baby's body and the growth that they're experiencing and their nutritional needs that they now have. So it's a nice little age range there. Between 17 and 26 weeks is when you want to look at starting solids with your child. And the other things to look at is really the signs of readiness. Okay, so can your child sit up and hold their head up by themselves? This is one of the signs of readiness. Are they really interested when you're eating food? So are they trying to grab the food off your plate? Are they trying to grab this fork or spoon? Do they want to try this? Is another one. Another one is, are they making like chewing motions with their mouth when they're seeing you eat? Are they sort of practicing and getting ready for that? And then another one, when you try to give them solids for the first time, is, are they able to push some of the food in their mouth to the back of their mouth? Because if they're pushing it all out of the front of their mouth, they're not ready. And they will push some of the food out, but if they're pushing all of that food out that you've tried to give them, they're not ready. So it's a really good one. They need to have that sort of coordination within their mouth to push the food to the back of their mouth in order to swallow. So you need to, I guess, be aware between 17 to 26 weeks if your child is showing those signs of readiness. And if you have any concerns about the timing and if you are ready and if they are ready, go and check out and go see your doctor or your GP or speak to a child nutritionist. There is a lot of information. There are a lot of healthcare people that are there for you. So if you're at all concerned that you might be starting too early or you've delayed too long or you're not sure if you're seeing the signs of readiness, go and ask someone and get some help. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. So there's definitely the time to start. Now, if your baby is showing the signs of readiness, what are the types of foods that you want to begin with? And it's changed a lot over the last few years and it can get quite confusing. But I would definitely recommend starting with some really soft, sweeter flavors like apple and pear, cooked apple and pear. These are really gentle on your baby's digestive system and they're really nice first foods, along with root vegetables like sweet potato and carrots, and those kind of softer, sweeter root vegetables are really good. Lots of iron-rich food. That's why meat is now included from 6 months. So you can give your baby blended up meat or like some stock within their food because they really need those iron-rich foods, along with the iron-fortified cereals as well. These are great first foods. And then as your baby gets a little bit older, you can start introducing the more harder to digest foods like the broccolis and the cauliflowers, and when they get into 7 months they're ready for the pasta and the bread and the noodles. Oh, and I forgot egg. Egg is one from 6 months now as well, but sometimes it's concerning for parents because it's an allergy food, and I'm going to talk about allergies in a second. Now, when you have started feeding your baby solids, the thing to remember is that when you first give your baby a new food, their digestive system has to cope with something completely new. And in order to do that, they have to produce new enzymes in order to digest and break down that food. Along with those new enzymes, the gut, the sort of flora, the bacterial flora within your child's digestive system in the gut, it's really beginning to change because it's got new bacteria, there's new antibodies, there's lots of newness going along. So your child's tummy, when they start to eat solid foods, it can get a little bit uncomfortable. There's all these new sensations. It can feel a little strange and a little, uncomfortable. And so it can lead to night wake up. There's a couple of things to remember when starting new foods. It's a really great idea to start new foods at lunchtime. And this way, if any of that new food does give your baby a little bit of upset tummy or leaves them to be a little bit constipated, you're really only going to mess up that afternoon nap. And then you might be able to give them a little short nap before bedtime so they're not overtired. So if you're starting all these new foods at dinner time, it can be really difficult for your baby to sleep at night because they're lying down, they're settled, and then their digestive system is really going to work on these new foods and is uncomfortable, and then your baby is like, what is going on? And they're waking up. So the best time to start these new foods is lunchtime. And it's a great idea to keep a diary of these foods. And if you notice that when you give your baby banana, because raw banana is a really common first food, but it can actually really lead to a sore tummy and constipation. The same with avocado. So if you give your baby these first foods and you find that they're getting constipated and they're a bit upset and they're not sleeping as well, just take them out of your diet or your baby's diet, and then reintroduce them in a couple of weeks, or maybe by 7 months, and see how they cope with them then. It's not that your baby is intolerant to these foods or has an issue with these foods. Their body just needs time to get established on solids first, before some of these more harder to digest foods can go along. If we have a little think also about those allergen foods, there's things like cow's milk, and that shouldn't be introduced till 12 months of age. The milk that your baby should be getting before that is breast milk or formula. Cow's milk is at 12 months of age. So cow's milk, peanuts, soy, eggs, tree nuts, shellfish, and fish are those top allergen foods. These are the ones as parents we are super frightened to give our children, because allergies can be quick and life-threatening and really difficult. So if you do give your child one of these foods, which you should, and the current research now suggests that these foods should absolutely be introduced before 12 months of age, because waiting longer can actually increase the risk and likelihood of an allergy to these foods. So it's really important that you do introduce these foods. If you're worried about introducing them, if you have a history of allergies within your family, we would absolutely recommend talking to your doctor before you introduce the foods. There's some great resources in the article and links to some wonderful information about allergy foods and introducing allergy foods. So if you are worried, just rub a tiny little bit on the inside of their lip and wait a good 10 to 20 minutes before you give them any more, and see if they do have a reaction. Both of my sons were allergic to egg, and it was so scary. They just blew up in red hives everywhere, and we went straight to the hospital. Or to the doctors actually, and it had started to come down. Then we were put on a plan to minimize and manage that allergy. And an egg allergy, a lot of children grow out of. So my boys have actually now grown out of that allergy. But some allergies, like peanut allergies, they may never grow out of, and a lot of the times they can be anaphylactic as well. So it's really important, if you're concerned about these foods, that you do seek medical help. And if you do notice any kind of allergic reaction, and there's a list of different things, it's like hives, swelling, can't breathe, you seek medical attention straight away. It's really, really imperative. So let's just have a little chat about actually solids and sleep. So as I said before, the best time to introduce new foods is at lunchtime. And then once lunchtime is going along really well, then you want to start introducing dinner. But when you introduce dinner, it's a really great idea to keep dinner a vegetarian meal, because those proteins, they can be really difficult for your baby to digest at night and lead them to wake up. So have all of your nice protein at lunchtime, have a vegetarian dinner, and really hold off breakfast. This should be the last meal that you introduce, because interestingly enough, breakfast can actually disrupt night waking as well and make it really hard to drop those night feeds, because when your baby wakes up, you want them to have the biggest milk feed of the day. They should be really hungry. And then you'll know when your baby is ready to start breakfast when they're sleeping through the night and they can't last those 4 hours between their breastfeed or bottle feeds anymore. They're getting really hungry. So they're ready to now have a little bit of breakfast. And by 10 months of age, you're really looking to have protein at every meal. By this point, your baby's really firmly established on solids, and they shouldn't be having any of those digestive discomforts or upsets or constipation. So protein at every meal from 10 months is a really great way to counteract your baby's growth spurts, so they're not waking hungry at night time. Now, another thing to think about with solids for sleep is the types of foods you're giving your baby. So Foods rich in tryptophan, which is an amino acid, are really great for promoting sleep. So these are found, tryptophan is found in chicken and turkey and beef and eggs and dairy, nuts and seeds. So you can make smoothies with nut butters and some spinach, and oats are wonderful, and porridge, and these foods are really wonderful for helping with sleep. So what's happening is that tryptophan is amino acid, and it helps in the production of serotonin, which in turn is a precursor to the production of melatonin, which is that beautiful sleep hormone that I'm always talking about. So really including all of these wonderful foods that are high in tryptophan are great for sleep. The other thing to remember is it's a really good idea to include carbohydrates with those tryptophan foods, because the carbohydrates actually allow that amino acid to reach the brain quicker and easier in order to do its job there, helping the production of those hormones. So carbohydrates and tryptophans together, a really great combination. The other thing to have a look at if you're experiencing some night wake-ups is making sure that your child is getting some really good low GI foods, because a lot of the time if they're not getting those good carbohydrates and they've got some low blood sugar, this actually causes the release of adrenaline at nighttime, causing them to wake up. So lots of really nice low GI carbs during the day are really good. And it's really funny because a lot of the time we're bombarded as adults with low carb and no carb diets, and that is totally fine as an adult if you want to do that, but your children actually really need carbohydrates. It's really important for their sleep and their development as well. So these are just a couple of things to help you out on your sleep journey, because if you've started solids, you might have noticed that sleep just stopped completely. So have a look at the times of day you're feeding, have a look at those foods, keep a food diary. It's a wonderful way to see which foods are causing some digestive discomfort and which ones are okay. Okay, wonderful mums and dads, I look forward to speaking with you next time, and I hope this has been a really wonderful help to you and some really valuable information. Check out the article, it's got even more in there, and we'll see you next time.